Today I made big changes to my CLAUDE.md configuration, and I'm going to explain to you something that I had to do to get it to work the way that I wanted it to. So I wanted to make a video, the video that you're watching right now, and I said, hey, I am planning, and making a potato core video right now. Nice, potato core video time. Before I dive in, let me point you at what's relevant and figure out where you are in the process. So in my old CLAUDE.md, I had like some protocols that it would go through to try and figure out what the next best course of action was, to try and get ahead of the game. So there's a dedicated CAM lesson skill for exactly this. It takes a new I don't know what I'm doing day, it's potatocore.mp4, and turns it into a one-day keyed Camo2 lesson on Potato Core, then captures the next dev step. That's what the engine, if you've already got or are about to record the raw video. Quick question. Where are you in the Potato Core video process right now? Planning and scripting. So it started to go off the rails, quite frankly. And it was like, let's do I don't know what I'm doing. But I don't know what I'm doing was when I got started. So the most recent like Potato Core focused video was actually, let's go to I do know what I'm doing, npm run dev. It's already running. So if we go to Chrome, we should see I do know what I'm doing. And this is like way closer to, I think, what, like, in a lot of ways, this is kind of the summation of what it feels like I've been working on for just visibility as to what I'm working on. And I think this is actually like a trivial build. This wasn't really that difficult to make. But what was so helpful about this was that it highlighted, because let's review. I don't know what I'm doing. So see, I don't know what I'm doing. npm run dev. It's already running, 4747. We can do localhost 4747. Yeah, so it's got this little like quiz mechanism. When I ask it a question, it'll do a thing. And quite frankly, like that was the strategy that has gotten us this far. But I'm really trying to commit to this idea of every season and actually every moon cycle, there's a procession that happens. So when we are going from one season to another, we focus on one project and we shift to another project. Then we go from one moon cycle to the end of that moon cycle or to the next moon cycle. We have a different key performance indicator that's kind of governing our tasks. Mainly, the thing that I'm trying to solve for is when I clock in or like tap in to whatever it is that I'm working on, I need to know that the system is not working against me and that we're not starting from square one. The amount of times I've had to like re-explain headcanon, that wasn't actually headcanon. It was actually stuff that I had already written down, started to get kind of maddening. So what we've got here is this big long session where I'm kind of just like going back with Claude like, hey, it's not doing what I want. But based on the system that I have now, I've realized that my big problem was I was trying to squeeze stochasticity or a deterministic system into a stochastic system. But in the CLAUDE.md file, I had something along the lines of run now.js or MJS to like sync up a variety of different dependencies so that on the off chance that Claude determines that what it needs to do next is some action, it will rely on those things that got updated from the .mjs file. What I learned from just this session here was there are some start session, like what are they called? Let's see. I think it's literally called start session. It's not finding it. Session maybe. I think this isn't like searching it very well. It's something to do with Claude already has a means by which to like when a session starts run these programs. And I had revisited my core Claude.md, but not my Potatoes Claude.md. So what I had the system do was to create just like this really simple shell script, cd into potatoes. I wanted a way where when I run start session, what does it do? It resolves today. So it finds out what today is. It's going to find out what today is at some point. Claude config. So, okay, it's running this node, which this build.mjs is something we've worked on for a while. And it's actually determining what the current project, cycle, and objective are. So when I run it right now, it's gonna run this. And what this does is it rewrites my current CLAUDE.md, so it does log me back in. The key thing that I'm trying to like solve for is I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket, even though the one basket is potatoes. I'm putting it in that basket. But there are different verticals that I'm interested in exploring and seeing which one, like these LLMs, these agentic frameworks, these orchestration systems, which ones are the best to go from like breadth first, which is what I'm doing, to force multiplier. Like the way I am interpreting the future of this industry is the amount of things that you have out there, you're going to like shoot them to the stars very quickly, very sophisticatedly, if that's a word. So that's what, but what was frustrating me is I'm like, I want to make a video. And then it started to take me on this nonsense that had nothing to do with our current objectives. But the reality was I wasn't like leaning on my programming knowledge, which is when we start session, let's just update our CLAUDE.md. Let's make sure it's the correct one. And quite frankly, like before we even run this, look at all these. We've got app. I don't use that anymore. Potato Doom. That's supposed to be like a Doom version, like a version of Doom that's like potato flavor, like potatoes. Potatoes OD and Potatoes Ohm are like these two kind of big project. Like one of them is more of like a knowledge base, and another one is supposed to be like the runner. There's music that I have to make in order. Like yesterday, just having like a talking session. I'm walking my dog, and I'm just like, I gotta stop using terms like, hell yeah. I don't want to. Is that cursing? I don't even care. I cuss, but like, I'm just trying to be cognizant of it. I don't like the expression hell yeah. So, or hell no, or like there's tons of vernacular that I've kind of just picked up over the years, and I think I've gotten it through music. So what I've decided, it's all potatoes now. So French fries, like that's like, not good. Or like, that's tater tots. Like that's a good thing. Or mash is like, I'm trying to come up with a new ontology, a way of talking about these things that keeps everything in orbit structured around potatoes. So like butter, that one's easy. I've already been using butter as a means to say that something is good. But that said, butter is not necessarily good on its own. It's good in relation to something else. So like when something is mash, my conception of that is there's the raw materials are there, but is it creamy mash? Is it buttery mash? Is it salty? Is it peppered? Like, so like buttered mash would be like a really good, well put together thing. So I know the goal was to talk about Claude, but now okay. So I guess at this point it is appropriate to go into I don't know what I'm doing, because I'm starting to talk to you about ontology, and I don't want to lose anybody just by talking about ontology. That's some feedback I got was make sure when I'm typing that it's bigger. So what is ontology? So from my understanding, ontology is on the nature of being, or so it also kind of relates to epistemology. What is epistemology? I think this is on the nature of the meaning of words, whereas ontology is on the nature of being itself. So these expressions, I used to have a coach. He was an ontological coach, and there were some lessons that I learned that have just stuck with me forever. He's the one who got me through like all the tangential thinking into conforming to 23 different stories I put into Scary Stories from the Potato Shack, that book you can buy on Amazon. Before that, I had written 101 potato haikus in an effort to like, for brevity's sake, I want greater brevity. 101 potato haikus. The book is part of a series. This book is part of a 101 haiku series and is described as a novelty book for potato lovers exploring the versatility of the vegetable through short Japanese-style poems. So that was published by me on April 4th, 2019. Then the most recent one is Scary Stories from the Potato Shack, highly inspired by Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. This gives me an AI overview of me, all paired. Okay. The collection features uniquely unsettling tales, including mischievous potato spirits unleashing mayhem, malevolent entities, and ghostly apparitions, all paired with haunting artwork in the style of legendary illustrator Stephen Gammell. Very, very inspired by that. That was August 18th. So we've got some books on Amazon. Cool stuff. There were like 50 stories 27 of them got the axe. I have plans to make more, but the more I like get into like building this business of potatoes, the more like I really like this idea of like condensed information, this contraction. It's this notion in some esoteric frameworks called the Zimsum. So might as well ask, what is Zimsum? What is Zimsum? What is the what are the competing ideas on the expansion and contraction of the universe? So I know these sound very cerebral, but this is the stuff that I'm into. So we're bringing it into Potato Core. The thing was, when I asked it about Potato Core, it brought us into I don't know what I'm doing. And in a way, it's like kind of supposed to do that because like so much, I'm very eclectic. There's things I'm grabbing from all these different directions, but there's this goal of convergence on potatoes. So what are we talking about here? Let's say, what is ontology? It's a branch of philosophy that asks what exists and how is it organized. So for my universe, we have Potatoes, what exists, the e-commerce platform, potatoes.com, e-commerce platform. We're making a collection of comics, which I want them to be like, I'm going through great lengths to make sure that they encapsulate the characters that I've conceived in my head really well. Some people have other strategies for making comics. They can just like go one at a time. I'm really trying to like get the whole like the system down where things that happen make sense for the characters, but also heavily like I'm big into foreshadowing and like, oh, that makes sense. I like the idea of some type of predictability about the end from the beginning, but in such a way where it would be so it would require like me on like a really deep level to make those predictions. And like not in a way where it has to be like personal, almost like me spiritually. You understand where my head's at. So with this ontological coach, one of the key components to this was the way we talk about things. One of the things that I really enjoy is this idea of like unsolicited advice. I'm not sure if it was like he was coming from this direction, but I think it was something along the lines of like, when you want to like provide something to somebody and an effort that they might change their mind on something, you don't want to say like, well, I recommend this, or you should do this, or something where like you all of a sudden are the authority on a matter. Instead, like, because it puts someone in a headspace where they might get defensive. Instead, you might say to someone like, I invite you to explore, and then you give them this new idea. And instead of them feeling like you're critiquing them and like judging them, you're inviting them into this new headspace where they get to explore a new possibility. So I invite you to explore that you audit. I invite you to explore auditing your ontology, like the way in which you like refine what exists and how it's organized. So I'm trying to update my, I think this one would be more epistemological, that what is knowledge and how do we know what we know? I guess maybe not. This is more semantic. It might fall into the realm of ontology more. What category of things exists? What counts as the same thing versus a different thing? And which things are different kinds of things? So like, in some ways, it's the way we go about things, what things are and how they relate. So perfect example would be like, oh, that's based. If something is like really good, modern vernacular might refer to something as based. I want to shift my vernacular to say, oh, that's baked. A baked potato, like it's just on brand, it's taking some effort, but I'm trying to, there's a convergence on a singularity that I'm focused on. So a plain example is a shadow, a thing that exists or just the absence of light. Is a company a real entity or just a label for a group of people? Those are ontological questions. They are about the furniture of reality, not about how we know things. That is epistemology. It's a sister concept. Here is why a developer should care. You do ontology every single time you design a data model, and most people never notice. When you decide your app has users, you create a user table. A user has many orders, and an order belongs to a customer. So development is all about developing ontologies. Like, how do things relate to each other? What are those things? That, I think, is really important for developers and something worth exploring. People have written tons on this. It's a lot about relationships. So we presented ontology now. Another example would be like, I think there were like 4 things. It's like how you want to be perceived, or like sometimes we say things and it's because we want to feel a certain way, be perceived a certain way, feel a certain way, be perceived a certain way, look a certain way, act a certain way. I hope it corrects me. Your phrase, the 4 pillars of personal alignment. Feel a certain way, be perceived a certain way. Look, okay, so I guess this is, I might have gotten it right, but it's this idea that a lot of the time we default into modes of speaking and thinking and reflection and feeling that really try and emphasize or re-emphasize our own identity without ever exploring that, what we're identifying as. We're just defaulting to some network of thought. And I think it's important that we like audit these things and like, because I would say in a lot of cases, the way things are with our default mode network, like they exist that way for a reason. But if we just leave our entire identity to be defined by the world, we will have no idea or concept of who we are. So, ontology. Now, if we go into epistemology, I'm just like, it just hit me like, we're supposed to be on games. The goal is potato core, or like the habit is potato core, like this idea of making videos every day. My ontology of like what exists and how is it organized, I use expressions that other people have handed down to me, but like calling something tots or like that's tater tots, like those are delicious. But it also made me reflect. I've been using this as an expression to try and condense what my epic poem about a potato is. It's an epic poem about a potato who, by the power invested in him by the sun, becomes a tater tot superhero. I'm realizing more and more that it would make more sense to swap it not as to be a tater tot superhero, but to be a hash brown superhero. Because the hash, in computer language terms, and I'm coming from a computer science background, to hash is to compress a lot of. Okay, now we gotta get the actual definition of hash. What is hashing in computer science? So like a hash brown, I think in one regard, like with regard to just like modern conceptions of identity, you got race in there, right? Most people are just different shades of brown. Even white people are just very light brown. There's no like white because like, I don't know if I'm expressing this correctly, but the idea of a hash brown, and like, because a tater tot, I think the tater tots would be those that like this, it sinks in for them. So like there's the tater tot superhero notion, but it's the other people that become the superhero. For Odie O'Doul hath been a fool, soaked in jewel he dreamt of jewels. Om the boo who had consumed the sky, whisked away into the potato's mind. Sally the bovine queen had seen the celestial entity enter into Odie's dreams. There's all this stuff going on. So like that character, it's arbitrary in some ways, but there's also like a correct form that the story I'm trying to tell follows. Part of me doesn't think that it's not even part of me. I don't even think it's like me. There's a part of me that I put into the story, like how he spawns, but I think there's something grander that I'm trying to like paint and share with people. So, all right, ontology on the nature of what things are, how they relate. He's a potato, he becomes a hash brown superhero. How they relate. Hash brown, in computer science, hashing is this process by which you can take something and confirm. I don't want to ruin it, so let's just scroll down to this one. Hashing is taking an input of any size and turning it into one size, a fixed size value called a hash or a digest. The function is a hash function. So the whole story is really just a hash function. We are seeing how he gets hashed. So same input always produces the same output. A different input always produces a different output. The output looks scrambled and is usually much smaller than the input. Crucially, having hashing is one way by design. So like you could have this like 1,000-word document, and you could write a hash function that will, every time you run the hash function, will turn that function into the same length. That's something that I think extends beyond just coding. There's this everything that we try and when we try to share ideas, we are hashing those ideas. We might have thought about them considerably, but we try and compress them into this like really nice fancy way of sharing it. And in marketing, you try and do it in such a way where like you elicit a certain reaction where people buy into something. So I can appreciate the notion that all conversation or communication in general is presupposes that there's some type of persuasion going on under the hood, whether it's to be liked or to be like selling yourself as a person, like, oh, this is why you should like me, or being who you are, selling your, like, you sell yourself as like authentic to who you are, but like someone buying into it, they might like be able to see past a facade. But it's all selling, or not selling, it's all persuasion in a way. I appreciate the notion. I've thought about it a lot. I can confidently say I do think that most, it's tough for me to say all, like deal in absolutes, but so epistemology is the branch of philosophy that asks, what is knowledge and how do we know what we know? If ontology is what exists, epistemology is about how we come to know it and how we tell justified true belief apart from a lucky guess. The two are sisters. One is about the reality, about reality. The other is about our access to reality. So let's see. How do I actually know this is true rather than just believing it? The bug is fixed. How do I know that it's fixed? Does it just look better? Does it look right? Or did we write a test to prove that it's right? So we can say there is a fix-in. Here's the fix, an ontological claim. It is fixed. Here's how it's fixed. That's epistemological, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. It is the justification. Writing a failing test, which then watching it pass, is epistemology in action. It is the justification that upgrades a belief into knowledge. Reading what Claude actually did versus what it claims to have done, this happens all the time. A fundamental in this very repo is pure epistemological move. Do not accept the claim, check the evidence, logs, tests, monitoring, and reproducible bugs to give you justified knowledge of what your system is actually doing instead of a comfortable belief. All right, cool. So I like this expression Zimzum because there's this notion in like, I guess astronomy or like just the scientific community, the Big Bang, right? There's this idea of this contraction and then this expansion of the universe from into one point and then into a big point. I'm really into Genesis 1, and in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters, and God said, let there be light. So I see that as this big flash that people describe in the beginning of the universe. And when I came across this expression of Zimzum, it really it spoke to me in a way that it's like, this kind of like links up with some of my other understandings of like mystical traditions in a variety of religions. So it's core in Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism, specifically the system worked out by, so I guess it's Lurianic philosophy or Kabbalism. It is an answer to a deceptively simple puzzle. If God is infinite and fills literally all of reality, then there is no room anywhere for a world to exist. An infinite, all-filling presence leaves no empty space for anything that is not God. The answer, in Luria's perspective, is Zimzum. Before creating, God contracts, withdraws, or conceals the infinite divine light from a region, creating a kind of vacated space, the shalal, or void. Interesting. A big part of like I think I've been influenced by these systems in ways that I could not possibly imagine. Because the void is something, there's the whole, the void, and the aether. These are three core concepts in this, like the lore that I'm building for Odie's epic. So into that cleared out space, a measured beam of light is then projected and the finite world is built inside of it. So creation begins not with an outpouring, but with a self-limitation. And potatoes, that is my constraint. So this is my self-limitation. This is my attempt to channel the divine light in through this. But like, it gets confusing because to truly conform one's will to the one of God's, you can't put yourself on a pedestal. You can't be prideful. So like part of me trying to do this contraction involves like putting the main character, Odie, through like these somewhat terrible predicaments because like if he just wins everything, he becomes like Superman. And I'm not trying to build a Superman. I'm trying to build like a hero who, against all odds, maintains the balance of the fabric of everything. Superman, on the other hand, I've read some stories where it's like I don't know. I guess the difference is it's like Odie's not saving the day in the same way that he saves the existence of the day. It's like part of him is balancing the existence itself, which is not necessarily good or bad in a lot of people's eyes, but in his perspective, it is necessary. So I don't know if you've ever like played RuneScape. There's like Saradomin, there's Zamorak, the god of law, the god of chaos, and then there's Guthix, who rests in the middle. And I've always been really drawn to this idea that, like, I truly believe that existence, or like, in a good God, a benevolent God, but one that reigns supreme over all things and nothing escapes his grasp. So within that, there's a lot of difficult problems that have to be resolved, like that I don't think my mind could like answer for, which is why I'm not as like evangelical. I'm not an evangelical either, but I also don't necessarily evangelize as much as maybe I was like brought up to think was like the right way to go about my beliefs. So, all right, yapping. I should really just call this yapping. I like yapping. The big counterintuitive move here is that creation requires the creator to step back, not lean in. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't want to. I could go off on a tangent there. Existence, autonomy, even the possibility of free will and of a world that feels separate from God, all of it depends on the creator restraining presence rather than flooding the Space. Withdrawal is the generous act, because without that, it's just like there's no room for us. So two related Lyrianic terms usually travel with it. Shevirat, Hakelim, the shattering of the vessels. This is like very much. This has very much influenced a bit of Ohm's character. The vessels meant to hold the divine light could not contain it and broke, scattering the sparks of holiness into the world. And Tikkun Olam, repair of the world, the human task of gathering those shattered sparks. Zimzum is the opening move of the whole cosmic drama. So, I believe in Jesus. I think that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. I think that this notion of the sparks coming together is beautiful. I know that there have been people who have like gone into like studying some of this stuff can kind of like make you go crazy. I think that God is so good that he's given us this platform to like explore all of these different ways that his like love has been expressed in this world. Now, once people start like trying to like acquire power or like channel the divine essence for their own like selfish desires, and it's something that I probably do all the time, but I think by shining light on my own expressions of this, I don't think it's that like wrong. Because I mean, whether it's wrong or right, it is what it is. So, and that's kind of like the Gothics approach. There is a clean crossover of how you work, and it is worth naming rather than forcing. A creator who fills every gap leaves no room for the created thing to be itself. Good mentorship, good management, good API design, and bluntly, good use of a tool like Claude all share this shape. You have to leave deliberate space for the other party to act. Right. Yeah, so I'm like, I got frustrated with it because it wasn't acting how I wanted. It wasn't conforming to my will. So I just had to shift its internal processing a little, like the way it's wiring a bit. It's CLAUDE.md, so that it does conform to my will a little bit more. All right, there's a clean crossover to how you work, and it is worth naming. Okay, the skill is measured construction, clear enough. The project then just enough structure. This is Zimzum as a working principle. Sometimes the most creative thing you can do is withdraw and make room. That could be like setting up an automation, a loop, and then praying while it does its thing, and then you can reflect and quality assure it after the fact. So what are the competing ideas on the expansion and contraction of the universe? Start with one thing that is not in dispute. The universe is expanding right now. Edwin Hubble showed in the 1920s that distant galaxies are racing away from us, and the farther away, the faster they go. Space itself is stretching. Rewind that expansion, and everything was once hot and dense, the Big Bang. The genuine debate is not, is it expanding, but what happens in the very long run? Does expansion continue forever, reverse into a collapse, or cycle? I'm of the nature that I think there's like embedded cycles within a greater overall like complete. Well, you're not asking for what I believe. You're just I'll share it anyway. There's complete there's completeness, and God is trying to reach all of us through our own individual relative experiences, though his experience is objective. There's one objective reality, and he is the only knower of that. So that is my belief, and that all of the individual lives that we live, like just based on the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, or like Schrodinger's cat, whatever you want to call it, like superposition, when you look at something, it changes the nature of that thing's as it is measured. So because of that, like I would argue that there's an objective reality, which is that all things are happening, but then there's a subjective reality, which is the reality that we get to experience. So when someone's like, why are things this way or why are things that way? I would say things are always, and that means things are also no ways, because all of them cancel in some way. Because if things are always, then there is a way where all things are canceled. So that I mean, it's a bizarre mental experiment, and I'm going through like a lot of hoops to like rationalize this. But it's the only way that I can like really sit with it is that like you cannot prove I'm conscious, I cannot prove you're conscious, but we can both agree that it's better for all of us if we all behave as though humans are made in the image of God and have dignity by sharing that banner of humanity. That's what I believe, and whether or not like there's other intelligent beings out there that deserve that same level of like humanity, I think it should just be extended to life in general, which is why I'm so into Genesis 1. I think all of those things that were created there were created perfectly. There was a shattering, there was a problem, Genesis 3, but that might not have even been the same problem that most people conceive it to be, where it's like, we're not going there right now. But what I'm getting at is that just because something how we would see as bad happens doesn't mean that all good things did not also happen, and all even much worse things did not also happen in a way that is just as real as the way that not you but that other people have experienced. It's hard to conceptualize, and I think it's made this way because if it was so obvious that it was true without a shadow of doubt, that there would be no freedom, there would be no room. We just looked at that in Zimzum. So all right, accelerating expansion. These came from the 1998 expansion. Growth towards phantom energy, the cyclic ideas, big bounce, oscillating universe. Yeah, I mean, if you're interested, I'm going to go live with this. So okay, the cyclic ideas, big bounce, oscillating universe. A crunch does not end in a point, but bounces into a new expansion. The universe goes through endless bang, crunch, bang cycles. The oscillating model ran into the entropy. A steady state. Yeah, these are interesting. We already went through hashing. All right, so let's go live with that. The main purpose of this video, which I've clearly failed, I have failed you, is we were supposed to go over like the change that happened. I now have a script where when I think it's this one. Is this, what is on top? Okay, we don't need this anymore. No, we're just gonna, let's just get status, get add. Commit, I'm done. I should have said for today, but so that was like today's video, let's say, like the standard way of going about today's video. That should deploy it. There's another one that's supposed to be a little bit bigger. All right, can't find it, so we'll just make a new one. We'll go here. The thing that we were doing, CD into Potatoes. Then we do start session. So it just updated my CLAUDE.md to conform to the day, the project, the objectives, the key performance indicators, the tasks that we should be thinking about. What are we working on? This is the actual question we want to ask. So for the focus block, this is correct. Like we are working on cell mobile. That's what when I sat down today, that's what I thought we were going to work on. So tomorrow, when I make my next video, this is kind of going to be the direction we go in. And moving forward, I'm confident it's going to conform to my will. So there's that. But so we're not going to even we're going to ignore that. We're going to say just start session. And then we're going to go, I'm going to say the exact same thing. And this is going to show you stochasticity in action. There were different CLAUDE.md files. I didn't show you what the previous one was, and you're going to have to deal with that. But we're also going to see the, like a potato core video right now. It's not true. We're actually actively making the video. Nice potato core. Potato core video time. Before I dive in, let me point you to what's relevant. So yeah, I was talking about like Camo 2 lesson because I think it's going to drop a banger on us. But Potatoes, CD, Potato Core Web, I think it's called. It probably went into here and like found like Cam 2. And there's like updates we want to make to that. But we have proceeded, and now we're trying to lean on the habit that we built for Potato Core. I should also reflect on like a habit that I should have derived from Potatoes. The habit is just like wearing my merch out. I like getting people's feedback. I like getting new merch. One of the best pieces of feedback that I got, and I want to like bring people in on this, I think what I'm going to want to do is like using my normal job's money just start sponsoring like men's league or like little league teams or women's leagues like with potato merch, where I can get them like because there's some really cool designs that I've got put together for the different like potatoes. And like if I really wanted to like go all out with this, it wouldn't just be like sponsoring a soccer team, but it would be like sponsoring a whole league. That would be for the hot potato games. If it was like a bunch of different leagues, I think that would be really cool. Where like you have like the Butters team, you got the hash brown team, you got the potatoes team. But at first, it's just going to be potatoes. So so what we see here is this got it wrong, the one on the left, which was using just my old architecture. It might still be in visuals. No, it might be. It's not over there. It might be one of these, one of these, and one of these. I don't think it's any of these. Is it this one? Maybe I can. Oh, yes, we do have it. It did update it. Excellent. So it was this before. This file provides guidance to Claude code. It is intentionally thin, routing and behavior only. It's supposed to run now.js. This, I'm basically saying, hey, run this if you think that you need to. It didn't run it when I wanted it to just now, which is why we had that garbage one. I guess it's not garbage, but why we had this one mess up. Then we had it prints today's project, KPI, into the calendar.json. It's supposed to use that. Not sure if it was. There's someone mowing outside. I don't know if you can hear that. It means I should probably wrap it up. So before any other work, please verify the contents of the potatoes queue. 8 documents minimum in potatoes. Yeah, like this, didn't want it at all. Like this was me thinking that I wanted Claude when I wanted to do work to tell me to work out. I've developed that habit now based on the project. The habit is I've just been running every morning. I really like it, doing a 60 seconds of running, 120 seconds of no running, of just walking. When I get shin splints, I'm just going to do walks. But I know I have to do stretches before and after, more dynamic stretches early. So I don't need this to tell me to like work on my body, mind, and soul. Another habit has been I put a really, really comfortable like Sherpa pillow right next to my bed. And when I wake up and when I go to sleep, it's so easy for me to just be like, I have to pray. Like if I'm going to deposit anything into my soul's like spiritual growth today, I'm going to just get on your knees and be thankful for everybody. I know you're supposed to do petitionary prayer. I struggle with it, and it makes me sound pretentious to say that you shouldn't be doing that, but I just feel like I struggle sometimes in thinking about like what I should actually be asking for. So I'm almost like fearful of that, like asking for something, even though if I truly was to conform to these things, it would be better. And this just brings up a thought that I'm just going to share. Like, are we looking and reading through Claude code manuals, AI posts, development, more than we're digging into scriptures? I don't think that that's wise. Yet here I am. I do that. So there are most days, I would say, where that's the reality. And I should just break open that Bible right after this. So the daily marketing, this wasn't serving me in a way that was conducive to my success. I'm not sure if these ones were. The thing that I do really like that I did was this business event log capture and the company docs. I think it was effectively diving into here. This design structure is good. The repo guide is good. The infrastructure, contact at Potatoes. I can send emails to myself, put stuff on my calendar just using GOG. So that was the old one. And then based on the session I had with it, we created this new one, which is not even just this. It is whenever I run that command, I'm just going to drop this whole thing in here. We actually just did a video on this, and we just compared your response to this one's. This one was tremendously better, and we spawned it with the new command we ran. So I'm going to just paste all that in there. So form is fixed. Video potato core. That's what we wanted to make. Subject bends to the active project. This is the potato core about. It's over here. That's the problem. So I just want to make sure that It's in frame. We did want to work on cell mobile. We're going to do that next, not a general AI engineering video. Sorry, I ended up doing that. KPI is the gate. Cycle 1's KPI is complete games. We're complete all 5 games criteria. So yeah, this is like a strategy that I want for my game making. So I'll just wrap it up by showing you where cell mobile is now, and then maybe when you, I even tried to do it over here. Explore the cell web app. And this one I think is not even not this one. We want to go to Code, Visual Studio Code. It is this one, I think. So let's just spawn this up. So original, learn, play. That might be most up to date, but I think we've done work since then. So I want to show you the most recent development version. This is actually live. It's probably very buggy. I mean, like, until I put it back into hotpotatogames.com, I'm not going to recommend anyone uses it. What I want to do, though, for these sessions, like, so the KPI is me executing sessions of each of these games so that I can get adequate feedback instead of just generating slop. So yeah, here we go. We got the games, the debug mode. So if we go to like games, I've ranked them. The worst one was Harvest. Let's see if it's still as bad as it was. Harvest. So the big problem, okay, the 3, 2, 1, that piece is new. The worst part about Harvest is that when it got to like, what did it get? When too many things were happening at once, the screen would go black for a little. So if it still does that, we're going to keep it at a D. If not, we might move it up to a C. The whole point of this game is you want to capture it when they're green, and then technically you also want to tap these, but that makes it a lot harder. So the main thing is to just keep as many as you can going up. And then, I mean, if you get a helper and you get some water in there and you get the auto close, it's supposed to make it a little, oh my gosh, it's getting a lot harder because I did that. This game will primarily be played on mobile, so it's not going to be this difficult, or like, I think it'll be more competitive. But it hasn't crashed at all, and I have been clicking around. This is what's supposed to not happen. But yeah, so there is still that bug there. I have to find out why that happened. Maybe did it spawn? It's not complaining. I don't know why. So, okay, that one is still going to remain a D. This one's still got the same problem. So that's one session. But then there's games that like I enjoy. I think Atoms is a fun one. Atom Builder. 3, 2, 1. That got added to all of them. I'm glad about that. So we need protons, neutrons, electrons. But we really want the neutrons first. Neutrons, protons, electrons. Protons. It gets unstable if you have too many protons first. Protons, protons, electrons. I'm noticing that some of them are just disappearing as time goes on. Oh my goodness. Protons, neutrons, neutrons, electrons, neutrons. As we've talked about before, this would be a lot easier if it was on mobile. I'm pretty bad at just clicking these things. Why am I losing? What do I need? An electron? Oh yeah, we have to get to stable. The safest ones to click are neutrons until we get hit with that gate. All right. Tallying the rounds, stop. Time's up. See, in this like post-game thing, this is all new. It should be on every game now. I'm not sure. I might have hit the X too early on Harvest, but I'm satisfied with how that came out. So this is kind of more what you can expect from the next game. This one's Molecule Builder. There's a ton of design elements that I'm not impressed with here. But as you can see, that was what was supposed to happen today. Instead, we got like a lore. It was more about lore. God bless you.